Welcome to part 6 of Let's Play Slaves of the Abyss by Paul Mason and Steve Williams. At the end of the last part, I was about to read paragraph 48. Here we go. You join the Mercerons at the door and brace yourself against it. Then the fourth Merceron squawks, Izbech Pinzar. His comrades dive away from the door, with you close behind. The door bursts open and squat reptilian shapes pile into the room. There is a flash, an intense burst of heat, and when you open your eyes, the floor is littered with charred coca-mocoa. Now the Mercerons spring to their feet and dash through the door, the magician bowing to you politely before joining the others. They charge down the tunnel ahead of you, only to return seconds later, shrieking. You dodge them as they pass, and nervously follow the tunnel until it opens into a large chamber. Turn to 82. Okay, so returning to 82. Now the cavern has a high ceiling and a fine mist of sand falls from it. The middle of the floor is covered with sand and quivers slightly. Strewn carelessly across the sand are an assortment of incredible relics and treasures, a magical hoard the like of which you have never seen. With each tremor of the sand they sink deeper. A faint whistling as of wind in a ravine reaches your ears. Check the time boxes on your adventure sheet and turn to the paragraph given below for the number of boxes you have crossed off. Fewer than 13 boxes, turn to 72. 13 to 17 boxes, turn to 309. More than 17 boxes, turn to 343. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, we've crossed off 14 time boxes. So we need to go to 309 because that's between 13 and 17. So 309. Suddenly you hear a croak. You look about you and see a human face embedded in a greenish slime. Beware, it says. Major Nozoth will return. I, Enthemesis, or Enthemesis, have failed in my task and will pay with my life, but you may yet live. Take the whistle that lies at your feet. It will aid you in your fight. Stay away from the sands, they lead to the realm of Bythos. Now beware, the beast returns. You pick up a small silver whistle from the floor. If you flee down the passage you came along, turn to 230. If you wait to face the horror, turn to 115. Okay, we're going to take the small silver whistle. Okay, so silver whistle. Or small silver whistle. Whatever. Now, are we going to go down the passage we came along or wait to face the horror? We're going to wait to face the horror and turn to 115. Here we are. The creature appears in a shimmering haze but rapidly scuttles towards you. Your eyes ache simply from looking at its foul, ulcerous body. Its single claw clacks repeatedly against its slimy carapace, and with each movement it makes, a new tide of nausea sweeps over you. Remembering Enthemesis' words, you blow a shrill blast on the whistle. The creature flinches but continues to advance slowly. You will have to battle it while blowing as hard as you can on the whistle. Magem Nozoth, skill 10, stamina 10. If you do not have your sword, you fight at -2 and may not strike killing blows. If you defeat the creature, turn to 316. Okay, so Magem-Nozoth. Let's put that down. Magem-Nozoth. And it's 10 and 10. Whoops. Okay, so my skill is 12 still, and we're fighting the Magem-Nozoth. Okay, so 10 plus 4 is 14. I get 20, so 14 to 20. Puts it down to 8. And I am allowed killing blows if I get a double 6 because I still have my sword. What's the name of the sword again? Fang Fane, that's it. Yeah. Okay. 10 plus 7 is 17. I get 19. So 17 to 19. Puts it down to 6. 10 plus 8 is 18. I get 20. So 18 to 20. Ten plus 12 is 22. I get 23. So, yeah, 22 to 23. Now, the double 6 was on the creature's attack strength roll, so I personally count that as not being a killing blow, but the book's rules are sort of ambiguous. It sort of states if you ever roll a double 6, it's instant death, but that only makes sense to me if it's on my attack strength roll, so I don't count that double 6 as a killing blow. Anyway, 10 plus 7 is 17. I get 14, so 17 to 14. Though after that, I wish it had been a killing blow. Anyway, down to 9. For me, that is. Right. 10 plus 9 is 19. I get 23. So 19 to 23. And that's the end of Mr. Magem Nosov. Okay, let's remove any buzzing, should there be any. There we go. If you defeat the creature, turn to 316, and there it is. That's what we just killed. So 316. The creature collapses in a heap and twitches. Slowly it dissolves into a greenish, sticky mess which steams and hisses. You step back from its revolting remains into the sand. Turn to 263. As you step into the sand, you feel a tugging at your feet. You wade further into it and sink up to your knees. A few seconds later, you cannot move your legs, and the sand is up to your waist. As your head sinks lower, you take a deep breath, hoping it is not going to be your last. Turn to 383. Okay, 383, here we come. Now, the pressure of the sand as you are dragged down is almost unbearable. Unable to move, you await the inevitable. Just as you have given up hope, you burst into space and plummet down through air full of glittering sand and treasures. Now, below you are swirling mists, and around you thunder booms from the starry wastes. Have you escaped death by crushing, only to be dashed against the ground below? Your speed increases, and you lose consciousness. You wake in a heap on a smooth, cold surface. Around you, magical treasures of various shapes and sizes float gently to the ground. A thick mist swirls, obscuring all but your immediate surroundings, and strange shapes shift among it. If you have Sige's Pomander and know what to do with it, turn to 8. If you examine the items, turn to 87. If you try to find your way through the mist, turn to 116. Okay, we have Sige's Pomander and we know what to do with it, so we're turning to 8. You open up Sige's Pomander and take the herbs out. You stuff them in your mouth and wince at the acrid taste, but are rewarded by a spreading warmth. Make a note that you have eaten the herbs. So I'll just say eaten here, and I'll say eaten here as well. There we go. If you now examine the items strewn about, turn to 87. If you make your way through the mist, turn to 116. Okay, we're going to make our way through the mist and turn to 116. You make your way through the shifting mists, treading carefully on the slippery ground beneath your feet. As you walk, you notice shapes moving beneath the translucent surface. The mist muffles sound, but a screeching whistle penetrates. Test your luck. If you are lucky, turn to 193. If you are unlucky, turn to 209. Okay, so our luck is currently 10. So we need this dice roll to be 10 or lower. And it was good. But we've lost a luck point. Okay, we were lucky, so we're turning to 193. A silvery shape shoots past your head and crashes into the ground, shattering into a million milky droplets. These reform into a grotesque winged reptile, its limbless, translucent body pulsing with unnatural energy. A vicious beak protrudes from its bulbous head, and milky eyes full of malice peer balefully around. The ectovolt flounders about until it bumps into a silver chalice, which it greedily consumes. The winged horror then flies off with the chalice still visible, quivering inside its body. If you have a crossbow and wish to shoot the ectovolt, turn to 271. Otherwise, turn to 322. We are not going to use the crossbow, so we're going to be turning to 322. Do I have a crossbow? That's the main thing. Let me just search for it. No, I don't have the crossbow anyway. So, yeah, I can't use it anyway. 322, here we come then. You are surrounded by a shroud of mist on a featureless plain of crystal. Your only guides are the muffled noises which penetrate the dense white vapour. There are several distinct noises, each coming from a different direction. Do you head for the moaning? Turn to 164. Creaking? Turn to 237. Whispering? Turn to 203. We are going to head for the creaking and turn to 237. Cautiously you advance, observing more of the darting shadows beneath the crystal floor. The creaking gets louder, and suddenly a crack appears almost beneath your feet. Then the crystal shatters and a black shape erupts through it, spraying you with oily black water. The black shape shoots up into the clouds, and you scrabble for a footing on the shifting crystal. Roll 2 dice. If the result is less than your skill, turn to 339. If the result is greater than or equal to your skill, turn to 93. Okay, so we need this roll to be less than 12, but not equal to 12, which it was. Good. So we got less than your skill, so we're turning to 339. Here we are. Now the chunk of crystal on which you are standing starts to turn over, and you leap from it just in time. You land on the slippery crystal, unable to keep your balance. Flattened against its oily surface, you watch in horror as the black shape slams down onto the crystal a few yards away and advances on you. Turn to 135. The Anemoris is black and obscenely blubbery. Though limbless, it has a powerful tail which it uses to push itself towards you. A writhing mass of pinkish tentacles sits where its head should be. If you do not have your sword, turn to 184. Otherwise you must fight the Anemoris. Anemoris, skill 5, stamina 10. If you kill the Anemoris, turn to 357. Okay, so 510 Anemoris. Anemoris. Yep. Okay, 5 and 10. Okay, so yeah, 5 plus 9 is 14. I get 19. So 14 to 19. 5 plus 9 is 14. I get 20. So 14 to 20. 5 plus 9 is 14. I get 23. So 14 to 23. He likes his 14s, doesn't he? Okay, 5 plus 7 is 12. I get 16. So 12 to 16. 5 plus 5 is 10. I get 23. So 10 to 23. And that's the end of Mr. Anemoros. Okay, let's remove any buzzing, should there be any. There we go. Okay, if you kill the Anemoros, turn to 357. Off we go. 357. No sooner have you slashed the Anemoros into a blubbery mess than 2 more erupt from the water. You prepare to do battle with them, but are beaten to it. 3 silver flying ectovolts smash into them and you flee to the sounds of screeching. Turn to 3. I assume that picture is for us. Okay, so we're turning to 3. Off we go. Beneath your feet, the crystal surface begins to roughen and slope upwards. More ectovolts pass screeching by and you scramble up onto the rim of a crater. Looking down, you see a bowl-shaped depression made of smooth veined rock with regular grooves. A warm glow radiates from golden sand strewn in its middle. If you wish to go down into the bowl, turn to 103. If you wish to wait and see if anything happens, turn to 330. Okay, we're going to see if anything happens and turn to 330. Okay. With a shriek, one of the circling ectovolts dives into the bowl and shatters. As it reforms and flies off, you see that it has left behind a brilliantly polished gold shield. You watch as more ectovolts crash into the bowl, depositing other glittering treasures there. Then there is a lull. 6 crystal warriors march over the far rim of the crater, each wielding a massive hammer. They form a circle and raise their hammers together. After 5 minutes, they have pounded the magical relics into glowing powder. They then leave with the same clockwork precision. Soon you hear the sound of a feeble chanting approaching. If you hurry down to the middle of the bowl, turn to 228. If you would rather stay hidden, turn to 245. Okay, there we are. That's our picture. Okay. We are going to stay hidden and turn to 245. A tall, cowled figure walks into the bowl, chanting all the time, and reverently collects up the golden powder into a silken sack. He is chanting, "Broth for my master, broth for Bythos. Magical broth makes the master of the abyss." If you spring to attack him, turn to 154. If you creep round the rim of the bowl to surprise him as he leaves, turn to 40. If you follow him as he leaves, turn to 112. Okay, we're going to surprise him as he leaves and turn to 40. This book is weird. You make your way stealthily round the edge of the crater. A short distance away to one side, you can see a crystal chariot with 2 ectovolts tethered to it and a crystal sprite standing patiently by. You hide behind a crystal outcrop until the cowled gatherer approaches. If you leap out and strike at him with your sword, turn to 85. If you challenge him, turn to 154. Okay, we're going to leap out and strike at him with our sword and turn to 85. You take the gatherer by surprise. You take the gatherer by surprise, your sword smashing him to the ground. Beneath the cowl is an emaciated, almost skeletal form. Turn to 27. Now the chariot seems to be the only way out of this wasteland, but how do you get onto it? If you wrap yourself in the gatherer's robe, take his silken bag and approach it, turn to 212. If you wish to overpower the crystal sprite, turn to 179. Okay, we're going to wrap ourselves in the gatherer's robe and approach. And take his silken bag and approach it, yeah, 212. Here we are. You walk slowly up to the chariot and climb in, while the crystal sprite bows reverently. Then he lets out a high-pitched yell, and the ectovolts lurch off. Soon you are skimming across the plain at breathtaking speed. A few minutes later, the spires of a fantastic crystal palace rise up before you, circled by hundreds of screeching ectovolts. You can fully grasp the size of the palace only when you near its enormous entrance. The building is many hundreds of yards high and is formed, it seems, from the same crystal on which you have been travelling. You enter a mighty chamber and the chariot stops. You climb out just as another robed figure rushes up. "You're late," he hisses. "Our master returns and his broth is not yet prepared. If you fail, you will suffer his crystal breath. Hurry!" You follow him across the chamber into another of similar size in which a weird cauldron sits. Approaching, you realize that it is a goblet over 3 feet high, fashioned for some mighty hand. Another cowled figure sits stirring the brew within, waiting for you to empty your sack. You pour the contents into the cauldron and watch it darken to a murky green. The two cowled figures depart silently, leaving you alone with the goblet. If you drink some of the broth, turn to 45. If you add something to it, turn to 131. If you knock it over, turn to 365. Okay, we are going to drink some of the broth and turn to 45. The broth tastes foul as it slides sluggishly down your throat, then settles unpleasantly in your stomach. You brace yourself against the goblet and take a few deep breaths. If you have drunk the potion labelled Aral or added it to the broth, turn to 14. If you added the potion marked Zazaz to the broth, turn to 90. Otherwise, turn to 68. Okay, well, we didn't do either of those things, so we're turning to 68. The door at the far end of the chamber slams open deafeningly, and in strides Bythos. This is not the Bythos you killed earlier, but a towering giant, fully 50 feet tall. His gaunt, leering features are all the more threatening for their size, and his elegant robes billow about his huge frame. If you smash the goblet, turn to 149. Otherwise, turn to 225. Okay, there he is. Okay, we did not smash the goblet, so we're turning to 225. Bythos strides impatiently towards the goblet. "You were nearly late, gatherer. You know the penalty for failure," he says. If you have been told the secret of Bythos's power, turn to 374. Otherwise, if you have eaten the herbs from Sige's pomander, turn to 31. If you wish to flee, turn to 335. You may hold up the golden fist. If you have it, turn to 389. Or you may attack him with your sword, turn to 161. Okay, we have eaten the herbs from Sige's pomander, so we're turning to 31. Here we are. Check the names of the herbs in the pomander as marked on your adventure sheet. Replace each letter with the corresponding number from the key below. Then add up the numbers that go to make each name. Taking the words in the order you have them written down will give you a 3-figure number. Turn to the paragraph corresponding to this number. Okay, alternatively, you may flee by turning to 335. Okay, let's have a look at the herbs that we ate. Par, Mayet, and Teth. Okay, so Par is 0 plus 1 plus 1. That gives me 2. Mayet is 3 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2. That's a total of 7. And then Teth is 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 0. That's 5. So the paragraph that we need is 275. So here we go, 275. Okay, if you have drunk Bythos's broth, turn to 280. If you have the golden fist and wish to hold it up, turn to 141. If you would rather attack Bythos with your sword, turn to 78. Okay, we have drunk Bythos's broth, and so we're turning to 280, which is convenient because it's just here. The nauseous feeling you had when you drank Bythos's brew returns even more strongly. You gag involuntarily, then whine in pain as your body twists and buckles. Your robe is split as you burst out of it, growing all the time. Bythos stands aghast, watching your transformation. No, not you. There can only be one master. Or rather, there can be only one master, he howls. He draws in his breath sharply, then lets out a freezing blast at you. The crystals which form on your skin quickly melt and drip from you, and you advance on him. He dodges to one side, then leaps for the wall. With a blow from his fist, he smashes a jagged hole in it and leaps through. If you leap through the hole after him, turn to 299. If you leave the chamber through the door by which you came in, turn to 354. Okay, we're going to leave the chamber through the door by which we came in. So we're turning to 354. The entry chamber is full of cowed servants of Bythos, but with your newfound power you scatter them effortlessly. You charge out of the palace in time to see Bythos disappearing into the mist. You head in his direction as fast as you can run, following his cracked footprints in the crystal surface. Finally, you catch up with him. He has just tugged a chain free from a hoop in the ground. As you watch, it drifts away upwards. Bythos turns to you with a sneer. If you attack him, turn to 196. If you grab the chain before it floats away, turn to 266. Okay, we're going to grab the chain before it floats away and turn to 266. Here we are. Bythos curses as you grab the chain and launches a punch. He catches you in the stomach and you gasp in pain as a chill blast is forced out of you. If you now let go of the chain and attack Bythos, turn to 196. If you blow on him, turn to 380. Okay, we're going to blow on him and turn to 380. Here we are. Your blast catches Bythos unawares. He stumbles back in surprise as crystals form all over him. They penetrate into him and spread throughout his body rapidly as he turns to a statue of solid crystal. Still holding the chain, you kick your opponent contemptuously. Turn to 108. Bythos topples to the ground, shattering into a myriad tiny fragments. You reel in the chain until the wall of the cells breaks through the clouds. You then rip the bars off, freeing its miniature occupants. Thousands upon thousands of them totter feebly out of the cells and mill around, gazing about them in wonderment. When they have all emerged, you lead them back across the crystal wastes to the palace. There you are greeted by the cowed servants. They bow low and proclaim you the new ruler of the abyss. Now you must find a way of returning to Calamere. So you ask them how it is done. They tell you that Bythos used a rare blue crystal, powdered and dissolved in water, to travel to the earthly plane. Some remains stored in the palace, and the servants set about preparing the potion. Time passes as they complete their task. Finally, they present to you a huge vessel full of clear blue liquid. The newly appointed gatherer steps forward and speaks. Majesty, a great quantity of this potion is required to transfer your mighty being. We have prepared as much as we could, but unfortunately there is not enough both for you and for all these spirits to be returned. You must make a choice. If you drink the blue liquid yourself, turn to 205. If you divide it among the citizens of Calamere, turn to 250. Okay, we're going to divide it among the citizens of Calamere and turn to 250. You watch as the former prisoners each take a sip of the blue liquid. One by one they dissolve away in a blue glow, until you are left with only the servants for company. You look down sadly at the empty bowl, wondering how long it will be before the servants can fill it once more. You can only guess. The servants explain that, as rule of the Abyss, you gain the power of all the lost magical items of Alanzia which are drawn to this realm, but it is small consolation for your exile here. If you have the wound, which changes colour, turn to 400. If not, turn to 119. Okay, we have the wound which changes colour. Can't remember if I wrote that down. Oh, yes, we did. I did write it down. Our hand is coloured. Yeah, I wrote that down. Yeah, but I was just about to say, I can't remember if we wrote that down, but I know we definitely did it. So we're turning to 400. If not, turn to 119. Okay, I assume that's for us, that picture, because that's people drinking the potion. Anyway, so we do have the wound that changes colour, so we're turning to 400. And this is probably it. While searching through the palace you have inherited, you come upon a scrying mirror set into a wall of crystal. A servant shuffles forward and shows you how to use it. You train it on Calamere, hoping to see the fruits of your sacrifice. Sure enough, the fields are full of villagers once more, and the land is rejoicing under its new Baron Madherios. You look with pride upon a land which is freed from Bythos' clammy grip and Sige's nefarious scheming. Feeling that your sacrifice is bearable, you leave the mirror and make your way to one of the towers of the palace. As you gaze out at the vast swirling plains of the Abyss, you hear the sound of 1,000 leathery wings. Soon the air is thick with circling ectovolts. For a moment you are gripped by fear. Is this some last trick of Bythos? But they have only come to salute their new ruler. Then something coils round your legs, pulling you off balance. You crash to the ground and find yourself face to grinning face with Caduceus the Serpent. Much wisdom is mine, he says, and I have much time to share it with you. I hope you will find me an entertaining companion. Given a choice, you might have preferred lighter company, but you soon find that the Serpent is as wise as he claims. With his great knowledge to guide you, you uncover secrets beyond your imagination. Your power grows ever greater until the memory of your former life in Alanzia becomes a distant dream. Finally, you unravel the mystery of travel between the planes and embark upon an adventure which spans the cosmos and concerns the gods themselves. But that is another tale to be found in the books of myth and legend. Blimey. Okay. Yeah, that's that. Good. That's the end of Slaves of the Abyss. One of the weirdest of these books I've ever read, even weirder than those futuristic ones in space. This is just... It sort of starts off like a normal swords and sorcery adventure, and then it just... And then normally the end... Well, one would expect the end of the book to be, when we... revealed the trait or whatever, and then it just turns weird as we go into this crystal realm, and the ending is even weirder. Anyway, what happens if we didn't have that wound? If we didn't have the wound, it was 119 by the way, while searching through the palace you have inherited, you come upon a scrying mirror set into a wall of crystal. A servant shuffles forward and shows you how to use it. You train it on Calamere, hoping to see the fruits of your sacrifice. Sure enough, the fields are full of villagers once more. Yet a shadow still hangs over the land. As you focus it on Calamere's palace, you see Sige the Silent being invested as the new lord of Calamere, or lady, because a woman can't be a lord, can she? Because a lord is only a man, so it would be a lady of Calamere. She is aware of your gaze, for she stares back at you and sneers. The Abyss may be yours, she whispers, but Calamere is mine, now and forever. It seems you have saved Calamere's people, only to abandon them to a dark tyrant. Okay, so yeah, that's the nasty ending if you don't have the coloured hand or whatever, or the coloured wound. Anyway, as I was saying, that is one of the weirdest fighting fantasy books in the series, including the weird ones in space. I mean, at least the weird ones in space, they're weird because they're in space and they're futuristic. So they can just, they have a right to be weird. But this is just very, very bizarre. Anyway, thank you for watching. My next book will be, or rather the next video will be Steve Jackson's Sorcery, Book 1, The Shamatanti Hills. We also need the spell book for that, but thankfully I have that as well. Then after I do that, I might do the next sorcery book, or I might just do the one after this. I can't remember what the book after this is. Book 33. I don't know, but yeah, that is Slaves of the Abyss. Very, very weird. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this series, and hope you can join me for Steve Jackson's Sorcery. So goodbye.